everybody. There, YouTube. Looking a little off. Is the camera 30? Is that better? Looks a little better. All right. Any other cameras 30? All right. Oop. Nope, there are not only 2 plots left. There is only 1 plot left. Let me get rid of that. Okay, there we go. All right. Happy New Year, everybody. What is going on with the Freedom family? How has everybody's New Year been? That's right. That was my only day off. I was here Christmas Day, wasn't I? Yeah. I didn't come New Year's Day. I was up too late at night. Huh. Yeah. Guatemala, very nice. Very nice. What else do you guys do for New Year's? What are you guys doing in the new year, more importantly? We are building generational wealth for 100 families, 100 new generational wealth families this year. So that is what we are doing in 2026. And we're 2 down. So we're not too far into the year. We've already began the 2 next generational wealth families. 98 to go. What are you guys doing this year? Yeah. Very nice, very nice. This is the year you guys are going to build a house. That's awesome. Where are you guys building the house at? This is the year I want to move my family to Kenya. Okay, sounds good. You let us know. What else do we got? What else are folks doing this year? Hey, how's it going, Brother Juicy? What's new? Happy 2026. Oh, is it? All right, let me. I should have like a rag with me, shouldn't I? I don't have a rag with me. Let's see if I can clean that camera for you. How's that? Does that look better? Okay. Still in the U.S. doing some school. Nothing wrong with that. Every day. This is my everyday live time, brother. The only day I wasn't live at this time was New Year's Day. Yeah. Yeah, it is late for you. You're probably on the East Coast or something. Yeah. Yeah, no, I get up at 5 o'clock just so it's like a reasonable time. Time actually works better for us though, because a lot of times, like if we got on at 3, a lot of our audience is like at work, so they get to come home, have a drink, unwind, and then then it all works out for them. Seems to work out best for Texans. What time is it in Texas? Who in this stream is in Texas? Let me know what time it is where you're at. I always get 20, 30 people in Texas. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start focusing marketing in Texas. I don't know why I get so many Texans. Texans and DMV. Huge amount of Texans in DMV. Of course, New Yorkers, but that's to be expected. You're in Maryland, DMV. All right. Even if you're not at the little point that's considered the DMV, I mean DC, Maryland, and Virginia in total. But yeah, definitely. We used to get. I don't know what changed with that. We used to get a lot of Louisiana, tons of Louisiana. Okay. All right. All right. No, I'm from Philly. Yeah. Yeah. It's weird. Yeah, I'm from Philly, but a lot of DMV, a lot of Texas. Of course, New York's New York, so you're always gonna get people from New York. But got a bunch of Philly. But we used to get a lot of like Narlands, and which was great, you know. But yeah, tons of Texas and DMV. Hey Heather, how are you? Yeah, you know what? I do like Philly. I'm not gonna lie. As a city, it has a lot of character. Of course, the crime and all of that nonsense is definitely part of also why I moved. I was born in like a little like a satellite city north of Philly. So when I was born, it's interesting because things like evolved as I grew up. But when I was born, Philadelphia and the city I was born in had the same area code, right? So it was all 215, and then like it split, and so then I guess we got our own area code, quite frankly. And then Philly stayed 215 because we have a city charter, so it's technically like a separate city or whatever. And but then it's still Philly's still the big city. You know what I mean? Our city was tiny. Like we were a city, but there was like I don't know, 80,000 people lived there or something like that. So compared to like the million people that lived in Philly, so so a lot of times you end up working in Philly. You know what I mean? A lot of those cities are historical. Philly was the first capital of the United States. So all the little cities around it were cities that fed the capital, so they got history too, and you know what I mean. So living in that area is a lot of it's just historical stuff. Yeah. And where? Oh, Waikiki. Is that Waikiki in Hawaii? That's awesome. That's awesome. Brought in the new year in Waikiki. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. No. East. I hear you. I hear you. I lived in Marietta as an adult, so I grew up in the East Coast, of course, and then I moved out to not Marietta, Georgia, Marietta, California. So I lived in they called it the Inland Empire. So I lived there for a while, and so I have an appreciation for the West Coast in that regard. I don't like LA at all, but I have an appreciation for you know like the Bay Area and the Inland Empire and all of that. But yeah, definitely still like the East as far as I don't know cultural vibes in the U.S. But the United States was never even in my top. Was never even like my top 10, quite frankly. Um, I came to Kenya late. Probably should have came a hell of a lot earlier, but probably Kenya. Obviously, I wouldn't have chosen to live here if it wasn't number one as far as living. So As far as living experience, Kenya is definitely number one for me. Number two, hmm, hmm. Number two might be Xinhui, China. Xinhui, China was pretty good to me. Now, northern China is a very different situation than southern China. I don't think I would live in northern China. But Xinhui, Xinhui is like, I don't know, an hour north of Shenzhen. So yeah, that was pretty good. Um, After that, maybe Phuket. Phuket was nice. I didn't like Bangkok that much. I'm not a partier, so all the party cities didn't really do it for me. Singapore I liked a lot. Actually, Singapore was definitely above Phuket. So Singapore is pretty nice. Butuan, Philippines is pretty nice as well. Uh, Probably at the bottom of my list might be Nice, right? It's like really the only place. I mean, and Monaco, of course, but it's really like the only place in Europe that I spend any time. That in the UK, but not really a Europe person. So Nice, and then of course head over to Monaco if necessary, and then the UK because I have family there, so I go there and like visit family and all that stuff. But that's really it. I don't really nothing does it for me in Europe really, other than maybe Amsterdam. So yeah, that's been it. I've lived a lot of places and got to kind of see how those cultures operate. But the biggest thing is opportunity, of course. So for me, it's not the biggest thing for everyone. Some people, the biggest thing is like partying. Hey, Charles, fishing and farming. I can dig it. We just set up a client just had us do a fish farm for them out here. We did an investor permit so they could own the company, and we just did a fish farm for them out here. So I learned a lot more than than I knew about fishing in that endeavor. That's one thing I like about setting up, the business expansions and setting up businesses for people out here, is that our entire team ends up learning all about their industry in doing that. So I know a ton about a ton because I've set up so many businesses for other people. So it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. It definitely helps in conversation as well. There's very few people that I meet that they tell me what they do, and then we can't speak about what they do on a professional level, even though I don't do it because I've probably set up a company that does it. So that's been helpful as well. Also helps with my clients when they want to set up a business out here and they don't know what they're doing. We typically have some level of insider knowledge from setting up a similar business in the past. So I guess that's a bit of a value add for our clients. Oh yeah, man. Yeah. I was stressed out all the time in America, didn't even know it. Just this camera here. There we go. Yeah, man, didn't even know. I had this weird I don't know, was it an epiphany? I don't know what happened, but I had this weird realization at some point while I was here in Kenya. And it was wild. It was like I guess the only word in my vocabulary that comes close to to describing it is an epiphany. But I was sitting in this restaurant. It doesn't even exist anymore. But I'm sitting in this restaurant, and there was just so many little factors that I never thought about that just kind of came together all at once. So like I'm sitting in the restaurant, I'm unarmed, right? Because like in Philly, everybody's carrying at all times. So I'm unarmed. I don't know where the exits in the building are. My back is to the door, right? Like all these things I would never do in the United States. I'm doing all of them at the same time. And it just like clicked. And it's weird because like I said, I've lived in all of these I've lived in all of these places, but I was always an expat in all of those places. right? And so an expat is temporary. An expat means you're living somewhere temporarily and you're going home, right? So no matter how long, like I lived in China, 2.5 years. I lived in Bhutan for a year, Singapore for 2 years. So like I lived in these places, but as an expat, right? And so in like 6 months of being an immigrant, right, it just hit me. And I guess there's just something psychologically different about knowing that you're not going back versus knowing that you are going back, where it was just like, and I can't even explain the emotion. It was like a panic attack. It was wild. Like even like it was very much like a panic attack. Like you with you shaking and the whole nine is, and very that kind of situation. And then it was like the first time that I wasn't on high alert, super stressed, I guess, and my body didn't know how to deal with it. Right? It was like a dangerous situation, from where I was coming from. And so, like, yeah, you have a visceral response to that, and then you can finally feel all the stress that you've been carrying, all your life. So that little tiny bit of relief you feel when you come on vacation, there's another level to that. That once you actually immigrate and you know you're not going back, something happens, and when you feel that entire weight lift off your shoulders, and it's pretty crazy. On average, how long does it take to build a 3-bedroom house? 9 months. Yeah, for us on average it's like 9 months. Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very, very, very wild, but definitely worthwhile at the same time. Hong Kong, nice to see you guys. Hey Bison, how are you? Have I ever been to Hong Kong? 对，也識定啊廣東話 just a little bit. I only speak a little bit of Cantonese. That's awesome. I read less, but yes, that you wrote something I can't read, but don't think you can be writing me paragraphs and characters. But yeah, that one was pretty easy. I appreciate that. Canada, nice to see you up there in Canada. We just pledged to do 100 new generational wealth families by the end of this year. Our first one we already did, with their generational wealth trust, is from Canada, Vancouver, at that. Excuse me. I'll set up a consultation with you. Help me finish my dual citizenship. I'm 50% there. Are you? All right. Yeah, we can take a look. Happy New Year, Emblex. Yeah, we can take a look. With the Class N permit, do you have to have 6 months bank statement as proof of income in order to apply for the permit? Maybe. Depends on who your professional team is. Unfortunately, the Class N is so new that the immigration officials are kind of scrutinizing different permits differently based on who submitted them, right? So not the individual person, but if it's a professional team that has a track record of doing things the right way, then those applications are a lot easier. If it's not, or if it's somebody trying to process it on their own, we've had people come to us like ripping their hair out, talking about they were in the FNS portal and trying to do it. Normally the biggest challenge for them ends up being the government permission documentation. So a lot of governments are giving their own citizens issues with that criteria. So that's one criteria that people are running into. And then the other criteria is uh, the the income doesn't have a standard. So it's really just up to the immigration agent, kind of like a U.S. immigration agent. Like when you arrive at a port of entry in the United States, you can have all your documentation and they can still be like, no, I'm not permitting you entry, and there's nothing you can do about it. There is no appeal process, same type of thing, right? That's one thing that's pretty much standard with all immigration, departments around the world, is you don't have rights to enter someone else's country. So there's typically not an appeal process or anything like that. It's typically just up to them. So, you know, there's no real answer to that. Unfortunately, the class N is a totality of the circumstances. Back when they started it, they had like rock hard specs on the permit, but the specs were BS. So a lot of us law firms got to, went up there, and there's a process called public participation. So a lot of us, utilize that process to be like, look, this is garbage. And we were able to show them like, the criteria. I think when it started, I think it was like you had to have a virtual job that paid you 78,000 US dollars a year or something. Like, it was something nuts. Something that was like made it worse than every digital nomad permit in like Europe and Asia. It was just ridiculous. It would have been the worst digital nomad permit on the planet, essentially. I don't even know why they started with that nonsense. So they cut away a lot of that, right? But they did it by like what we would call like an executive order almost. They did it by like office action, right? So they cut away a lot of those requirements, which is good because they were BS requirements. But now it's very much up to the discretion of the immigration officer, because they cut away a lot of like those hard, you need to make 70 something thousand a year, and you have to be, a remote worker. You don't have to be a remote worker anymore. That's not a requirement anymore, right? In fact, they added a requirement that you can just be a business owner as long as your business doesn't do business with Kenyan citizens, right? So there's a bunch of better ways to qualify now, but it just depends on like, who your legal team is, how professional they are with it, how well they know it since it's brand new, and whether or not the immigration officer trusts your application. We've seen for example, we saw an application kick back. This couple tried to do it on their own. It didn't work. They got denied. Then they came to us, which is always harder because now there's a record of you being denied. Don't do that. But then they came to us, and it was the name of the company. Like, they were so into East Africa that they had a company in America, but they named the company a Swahili name. So like when we inquired as to like, hey, what went wrong with this application, they were like, no, we don't trust it. That why is the company a Swahili company? If they're a foreigner, coming to Kenya, why would the name of their company be a Swahili company? And it was all legit. The company was legit. They just named it a Swahili name, right? So like the Kwanzaa days, you know what I mean? Like, they just named it a Swahili name. So it's one of those things where if it's just a random application and they see something that's funky, that's the way that they'll deal with it, versus, oh, this is a law firm in Kenya that we know is on the up and up. They're the ones filing this application. So, we're going to assume everything in it is correct. So that's essentially the difference. Well, you didn't have to. I didn't use your name. You have to tell everybody that you were the people. But by all means, feel free to get in the chat and let everybody know what your experience was like. Honestly, that's one of the things that sucks about our setup. A lot of people just set themselves up as like relocation consultants or whatever, and so they have no legal requirement to keep your stuff private. When you on board with us, you're automatically dealing with our law firm, so privilege attaches immediately. And so that kind of sucks in the sense of we can't be showing people's business like the other people can because we have attorney client privilege. And that sometimes people will even ask for it. And then what we'll do from a marketing standpoint is we'll be like, okay, cool. We can try to find somebody who will sign a waiver and let us like talk about their experience with you as a reference. But in order to do that, we need you to sign a waiver and let us use your story as a reference in the future because it's one of our issues. And very rarely do they ever. I don't know what it is when people want to keep everything secret, but that's when they stop asking for a reference. They're like, "Oh no, no, it's okay," and they just move off the reference thing. So that's always been tough. With the Class G, can you use the 100K to invest? You can use it for whatever you want. It's your money. Yep, you can use it for whatever you want. Most of our Class G clients use the 100K for housing slash their office, right? And the slash is there because a lot of them are doing like Airbnb type of stuff, right? So it's not necessarily there. It's not like they're double dipping and they're like calling it an office, but it's really their house. That's not what I mean by, excuse me, by slash office. What I mean is that typically the business that they're operating in is a housing business, right? So, for example, we just did 4 Airbnbs that are right next to each other. They're being built right now. We did a couple clients ago. We did a duplex. There's a lot of imagery of that duplex online. So we did a duplex a couple clients ago. Where is she? Like she's in Tennessee, Merceville, Tennessee, or something like that. But she has this duplex here at the beach now. So she put in 100,000 to get the investor permit so she could legally operate a business here, and then that 100,000 got pulled out, to build those duplexes and all of that stuff. So I mean, it's your money. You can even take it back afterwards if you want. We have some clients that do that. They'll get the permit and then they'll pull 100,000 right back out of the country if they feel like. So you can do whatever you want with it. You're not paying the 100,000 to anybody. It's your money sitting in your account. So yeah. Sometimes we will have Class G folks that they've had businesses before. So if you've ever had a business before, you know that you have to have a runway, right? If you had a real business, right? Not a hobby. You got to have a runway to operate that business. So one of the great things about, our bond laddering is that a lot of those folks, they'll come in, they'll get their Class G, they'll set up their company, and then they'll get a bond ladder, and the bond ladder will actually be owned by the company, or it'll be owned by the trust that owns the company. And so every month, those coupon payments will actually go into the runway of the business. So in that way, you set up the business, you pay up front, of course, yes, but now the business is running on on its own runway. So you never have to inject owner capital into the business like all other bootstrapped owners do, right? So typically, that's what folks will use a bond ladder in conjunction with the Class G permit for, is to make sure that payroll and all that is covered and they're not getting calls from America like, oh, the toilet broke. I need you to wire, $200 or Zelle me $200, which Zelle over here is called SendWave. But SendWave me $200 and all of that stuff. Like, no. Every month, 50,000 shillings gets deposited into the runway account. And every time there's a leak or a plumbing issue or just we need more toilet paper, you know what I mean? That money is there. Yes. Yep, you do. You have to. Well, yes and no. The answer is yes. But the question is a little off, right? So let me correct the question a little bit. Does it still have to be cash on a renewal? No, right? So even if you go back and you look at the original law, it says $100,000 or its equivalent, right? So, for example, we did a Class G permit for a guy who was it construction? I know he had construction machinery, but I don't think he actually did construction. I don't think that was his business. He was renting out heavy machinery to contractors locally. So he wasn't going to be competing with those contractors, but he was bringing like state of the art, like bulldozers and that type of stuff over here. And it was like way more than $100,000. He was bringing like $2 million in like heavy equipment, bulldozers and all that into Kenya. So that was his 100,000. Like we were able to show like, hey, he's bringing this business, he's going to be hiring these people, and he's bringing $1 million worth of assets that are going to be owned by the Kenyan business, right? Because that was a big thing. You can't like just bring it and maybe send it back. In that situation, it essentially does need to stay here for them to accept it anyway. And so that was his 100,000. So what his renewals, all he had to really show was like, I still got $1 million worth of equipment here, and then that's how his renewals work. They cost the same, still got to pay for the renewals, but that's how he did it. And then we got him permanent residency after his first renewal. We will be coming to Kenya sometime in March. Will you still have lots available? We can always find lots. We can always find lots. The end of year special is pre-priced, so the price of that land is part of the pre-pricing. We have secured an additional acre, but we may not have it in time because of the time it takes to transfer ownership of land and the fact that all of the people that need to sign on the county government level, they're all on vacation right now for New Year's. So hopefully they're back by the 15th of this month, and then maybe we can get a transfer done in a week. Only because we've been doing this so long and we have connections on the inside. Typically, it would take a month. So if that happens, then we may be able to extend the special as far as like land and whatever. But March would still be too late. And the reason why isn't because the land would be gone per se, so that the same land might be there, but we wouldn't be able to guarantee that by the end of the year, which so by the time your house is built, that your bond ladder will be done, right? Because sometimes we need 6 months, right? Other times, like right now, the bond that's available right now is beautiful because it gives you 2 months at once, which is a whole quarter worth of payments because you get paid twice on each bond, so that's 4 payments, right? In 4 different months because the bonds pay every 6 months. But sometimes you don't get it that the both of the bonds that are available in the auction are good. Sometimes one sucks and one's good, right? So if they're not both good, then you can only buy the one. And so sometimes you need 6 months consecutively in order to get 6 solid bonds to build the ladder, right? So that's why the special ends in February. Because imagine if we waited all the way, like you're saying March, right? So let's say you come in March, but then you make your decision in April, right? So now we're at April. Well, now we got to onboard you. So the first thing we got to do is build your trust, right? That's going to take a month, right? So now it's May and the trust is set up. Now we're looking for bonds because now we got the trust. Now we got to take the trust and open the bank account for the trust and then go to the Central Bank of Kenya and get a central bank account for you to be able to buy bonds, right? Well, now what month is it? Now it's June. So the first 6 months of the year are gone. So now we have to buy every single bond July, August, September until we get to December in order for you to get your bond letter done in that year, right? And there might be shitty bonds in one of those months. So you see why the timing is becoming like a bunch of people like, can you just hold it for me? Can you just wait? We really can't because if we do, we're setting you up for failure. So that's why the special in itself is limited like that because we need to have enough time to actually deliver, what we're promising you. Um, okay, cool. Yeah. No, I mean, all the time. Actually, so there was 2 plots left. What, 3 days ago? We came on and we are like, look, we sent out some emails and stuff. We were like, listen, this is where we're at. And so somebody on the live had like sent us an email, and they were like performing on the live. They didn't do anything. Um, and so, but then somebody else popped up and they were like, well, look, I was going to get stuff together in January, but I see how things are moving, and they just made it happen. I know they moved some stuff around, pulled something out of their house or whatever, you know what I mean? Made it happen and got that wire out. And so we actually got that wire yesterday. And so that took 1 plot, off of the list. So there's 1 plot left. But yeah, man, it moves quick. It moves quick because, and I think a lot of people don't, like, they hear it, but they're not really thinking about it. It moves fast because when you do it, you essentially retire yourself, right? It's like a no-brainer, right? When you do it, you don't have to work again for the next 10 years, right? So it's like, it's essentially a no-brainer. And again, most people still do. It's almost like the people who win the lottery. They still go back to work, but let the boss look at them the wrong way, right? So a lot of people, they're still like, oh no, I got a thing over here I'm going to keep doing, or I like my job enough, like it's okay, I'm going to keep, whatever. But you're putting yourself in a position where essentially all your stress is gone. So there's a lot of folks that are like, I'll take this little loan over here, I'll try to pay it back, but if it don't get paid back, I'll be in bankruptcy court. I'm with it, because I'm not going to have to work again. It's worth it to roll that dice. So a lot of folks they just swallowed it up right away. There was 12 of them. 11 are gone, and we've only even had the special running for what, 2 weeks. So like 14 days, 11 of them are gone. Like, people really, really jumped on it. It actually surprised us. We thought we were going to sell out in January, but you know. But it is a crazy deal, so it makes sense. It makes sense. Some things do just sell themselves. We'll do like an email blast. I'm sure on a live like this, I'll announce it, and it'll be like on our actual page and all of that stuff. So if we can get that acre converted in time, then we will. Or if we can lock them down on a contract in the meantime, you know what I mean? Which they'd probably be willing to do. We just gotta get the lawyers involved and see what'll hold up, in court. But if we can lock them down where we have the title deeds, not them, and they've been paid, and in lieu of lands transferring the title type of thing, where we're comfortable that nothing can happen with the land in the meantime, then maybe we'll announce that as well. There's typically always a way in law. The only problem is the more creative you get, the more cooperation you need. Right? So there's always these creative, well, you can do this and owner finance that and this and that and the third, but all those creative things require a third party to cooperate with you. That's why you don't see them happen all the time. And it requires them to be as savvy as you. Like, in order for them to cooperate, they have to understand, right? So they could want to cooperate, but if they don't understand how owner financing works, or if they don't understand, the nifty little plan you came up with, how it works, they're going to make a mistake by accident and mess up the deal, right? So they have to have a certain level of savvy in order for that to even be an option. Do you buy plots on the Nairobi side, more like the suburbs? We have placed people anywhere, right? So the special is Diani Beach, because that's where the land is, and we've already priced everything. All right, fine. That's a ridiculous deal. It's essentially half off. If you were to buy it from us during normal times, it would cost more than double, actually, right? So, okay, fine. That's that. But we have clients all over Kenya, right? So we have clients in a land list, which is right outside of Nairobi. We have clients in Thika, which is right outside of Nairobi. We have clients in Nairobi, like Lily Waters Tower area, which is really close to the airport. We built some houses out there. So we have clients in Nairobi. We built in Kisii. We've built in Kakamega. We built in Kisumu. We built in Narok. We built in where else? We actually got to build in Abu Sali, right? Which is like Masai Mara. It's like a wildlife reserve, right? But it was a Maasai, right? So it wasn't somebody relocating. It was a local person who is indigenous to that land, but they wanted an American style house. So we even got the chance to build, out there, in that situation. So we all over the place. But there's no set prices for that, right? So people will call us and say, all right, I want this boutique house in this place and the da 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 da, and we'll go scout it, right? And then obviously that's a premium service, right? So it has a premium price tag on it. But yeah, we do everywhere. A lot of folks that do that are focused on the beach though. So a lot of folks will be like, listen, I know the beach is expensive. Good morning. I know the beach is expensive. I got the money. I want you to find me a clean beachfront. Because typically what happens with beachfront is it's all scam, right? So typically that's what happens with beachfront is that if you gain access to a beachfront plot and you're not even here, it's probably a scam because those things are gate kept like ain't nobody's business, right? So you have to be here for it to even be close to being legit, right? And then there are ethnic groups gatekeeping, certain parts of beach access. There are different tribes, it's crazy, right? So there's a bunch of internal politics with getting actual beachfront property. And so folks that want it though, we can get it. But it even if you have a direct line, it's still expensive. Like an eighth of an acre of beach frontage. The last time we bought an eighth of an acre, it was like $340,000, and no house was built on it yet. It was just because you got the beach. Your backyard is the sand. You know what I mean? And so beachfront's super expensive. So folks that can like afford that are typically the kind of folks that are like, all right, we want completely, you know, uh, boutique service. We want you to, because our agents are always local people, and our deals are done in the local language, not Swahili. We can't get the kind of deals we get if we're speaking Swahili. Definitely can't get them if we're speaking English, right? So whatever local people are from that place, you have to have an agent from that place speaking that language, and not just that language, that dialect of that language, right? Because you might have someone who speaks Kikuyu, but there's like 7 different types of Kikuyu. And they can tell what part of Kikuyu you're from based on the way you speak Kikuyu, right? So it's one of those things where you have to have an agent like from that place in order for them to trust that agent enough to open up access to like premium, locations. Makes all the sense in the world, Skilly Boom. Yeah, yeah, all the sense in the world. Consider where they just came from with the freaking British stealing all their land and kicking them out into the desert and all of that old nonsense. That was just 60 years ago. When Martin Luther King was fighting for voting rights, the British had concentration camps here. So it wasn't that long ago. It was like Jim Crow. When we had Jim Crow, that's what they were dealing with. So it wasn't that long ago at all. So there's still a lot of like, you know, distrust as to like what are your intentions, right? And that's part of our responsibility. We don't really onboard people who have some kind of like neo-colonial, ideology. They're not right for us, and we're not right for them. So that's the end of that. How much is a consultation? It depends on the type of consultation, and the prices are going up probably in the next 2 weeks. I think right now, if it's an initial consultation, it's 200. If you need a lawyer on the consultation, it's closer to 500. And then there are all kinds of specialized things that you would know if you need those specialized things, and those come with specialized price tags. So are you not like the special? So those are not, no, yeah, no, not beach run. So the special we're running, it's like you can walk to the beach, which is amazing that we even got that. But you can walk to the beach from where the special is. It's about, if you were driving to the beach, it would be like a 5 minute drive. If you were walking to the beach, it would be like a 15-minute walk. So there's that. So it's very, very, very close to the beach. So that's great. And then it's just, we got a block of plots. There's a lot of distress sales too. So if you have a local team, you hear about like the distress sales, right? And distress sales come from different places here than like they do in the United States. Like in the United States, they come from like taxes, right? Here they come from like sometimes people like being somebody got sick or they need a really expensive surgery or like something like that. That's typically where they come from here. Because typically there are no taxes. Typically, right? It has to be agricultural land. But if it's agricultural land, then there typically is no taxes with that. So you don't run in a situation where you're distressed sellers. It's they didn't pay their taxes in a couple years, and so now they're distressed. That's like the American version. But here, it's typically something happened in their family or whatever. So in those situations, when they decide, all right, we're going to sell 2, 3 acres or whatever, that's where you'll get like a really great price. Um, I think it's 500. Got to go check the consultant, the booking link. So just go to diaspora.lt.com/booking. I think it's 500. But I do know if you check in 2 weeks, it is going to be more. We've had the same prices for like 3 years, and haven't raised our prices, but inflation and taxes have gone up, so we can't do that for another year. So it will increase, but that's going to be up to our bookkeeper. So I don't know what the increase is going to be. The increase is going to match inflation. So whatever the tax man says, that's what it's going to go up to. Yes, all of our houses are built that way. Here, let me show you. See, that's a universal plug. See these sides here? This weird little rectangle right here and that one. And then you have the hole up here. So this will fit a standard US plug. And it'll fit a Kenyan plug, which is a UK plug. And it'll fit like a Dubai plug, or a Chinese plug, which is the 2 prongs, right? And it'll fit an Australian plug, which is it's like a triangle. So yeah, we can set it up with the universal plugs. That's standard for us. You don't have to pay an upgrade or anything like that. If we build a house, it's standard with those plugs. Your voltage hasn't changed though. So you plug something in, it could still pop it. So you definitely still want to have your voltage regulators, but the universal plugs are there. And we could do like a line of 120s. We've done that before. So if we need to do like a line of 120s, like we could. What do I mean, a line of 120? Like a line of plugs that are all on 120. Typically, it's like the kitchen, because people will have like cappuccino makers and like juicers. I'm trying to think of the stuff that we see a lot. So like they'll have like a juice machine where maybe they drink juice every morning, or they're on like a juice diet or whatever. And so they'll have like a juice machine where you drop the fruits in and the juice comes out the other side. Or they'll have like air fryers that they really love and they're bringing them with them because they can't get them here or whatever. Or cappuccino machines are big, that type of stuff. And so like a 120 volt cappuccino machine If you plug that in, even with the universal plugs, it's going to blow up. We speak from experience. Juicers, those with the things with the big motors, even like blenders, the things with the big motors inside the appliance, they'll blow up. So you either need a transformer or you need to have that one line of electricity in the house step down to 120 volt. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, yeah, that was ugly. And it lasts exactly 48 hours. Exactly. Like in the 48 hours, the first hour that I, I felt good. Yeah, 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 yeah. Some things don't matter, right? For like, for example, people bring Xboxes all the time. I don't know about PlayStation. I assume it's the same thing. People bring Xboxes all the time though and just plug them in and they're fine. Because they anything that has like the little box. So like if your plug consists of a plug that goes into like a box and then there's another plug that comes out of that box and goes into your device, you're typically good. There might be a little selection switch on that box that says 120, 240, whatever, but you're typically good because that box is some sort of inverter or converter or step up or step down or whatever, right? Laptops are typically designed that way as well. So, like, never had an issue with a laptop blowing up. Never had an issue with the Xbox or whatever blowing up. Anything with that box is typically okay, right? But if it's just a straight plug, that's when you have a concern because there's nothing in that plug to deal with the voltage. And there's other factors as well, right? So there's a voltage and then there's a frequency as well, right? So it might be 240 50 megahertz or something like that. And then in the 120 it might even be a higher megahertz. It might be like 64 megahertz. So that kind of matters as well. But the biggest thing is definitely the voltage. Yeah, computers typically have that. Even if it's a desktop computer, on a desktop computer, on the back at the power source, there's normally a little orange switch. And if you look at it right now, it's probably click down and the part that you can see actually says 120 on it. And if you click it up, it'll say 240. And so with computers, you're normally good. Computers are typically built that way. Typically. I don't know much about Apple computers. They might be the exception. I say that just because of the way they're designed. I'm not sure there's little switches on the power supplies and all of that stuff. So Apple's might be the exception. Oh, that's right. Yeah, no, but we bought it here, didn't we? Yeah, we bought an Apple for someone here, but she's saying that like the Apple plug has this little part that you can like snap out and snap in. So I guess that's the box. That whole if the plug has a box, I guess so. Apple, I guess, does have that. Us, yeah. I mean, we like Ninja stuff. So we have like the Ninja Swirly, which is like the ice cream maker that can make soft serve. We have what? We have the Ninja like the glass air fryers. We have like two of them. We have the Ninja Combi, which is amazing. Highly recommend. It's like a little oven, but it does like almost everything. What else do we have? Ninja. We have the Ninja Cafe Lux Pro, right? So we have the Ninja Express. So all of that, all the Ninja stuff was brought in from UK. If we brought in the American Ninja stuff, then we would need like step down transformer plugs or whatever. So if you bring it in from the UK, it's automatically 240. How Amazon? Yeah, Amazon. No. So you just have an Amazon account, right? And as long as you like log into Amazon.uk, it'll work. You don't need like a UK Amazon account or anything like that. Your Amazon account will work in every Amazon region. It's just that some regions don't ship outside of the region. So like there's Amazon South Africa, but it doesn't ship. Obviously that would be closer and it might make sense to like order from there instead of UK, but they don't ship outside of the country. Same thing with like Amazon Dubai. Well, it's not Dubai. It's United Arab Emirates, but Amazon UAE doesn't ship outside of UAE. So it's weird. Some of the Amazons only ship in the country where they're based. Other Amazons ship internationally. So you can Amazon from the United States. If it's not electric, sometimes we do, just because so we don't have to deal with like British pounds and trying to figure that out and blah 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 blah. But and it seems to be faster. It seems like the shipping process out of the United States is actually better than the UK. But if it's electronic, where you have to like plug it in, if it's battery, we don't care. But if you've got to plug it in, then we do it from the UK. And that's only if it's not something in this market. There's not like Ninja's not in this market yet, which is I don't know. It's weird for them, it's a gap for them, I would assume, simply because they have a Ninja Shark UK and it's the same voltage, right? So I could understand if it was some like 190, which I think Japan's like 190. Like if it was some weird number that other countries didn't use, or they're like, oh, we're not gonna change our entire appliance setup for this one country, that makes sense. But you would think if they have UK, every former Commonwealth that uses the same plug setup, would be a market. But sometimes these are the holes in the markets that people got to fill. Okay, TikTok just challenged me to stay online. They're saying like the live, share. Um, I guess they were trying to see if the live was real. So like the live and share so that TikTok doesn't send me another puzzle to fill out. Yeah, TikTok's the only one that requires maintenance. The rest of you guys are fine. You don't have to do anything. Just watch the live. What's this? Somebody trying to come up. Oh, Juicy, you want to come up here? Hey, what's going on? Hold on. It looks like I got my volume down here. Go
Man,
ahead.
I want to commend you. I want to commend you for the good work you're doing, brother.
Oh, thank you.
I
I
think
appreciate that.
I think you are doing some fabulous work, and it's so funny because I was just getting ready to go to bed, and I just popped open my phone, and you popped up, and I'm like, oh, I love this guy. Well, let me hear what he got to say. And now, what I'm realizing is because I got a lot, this place is very stressful. I got a lot going on here with school, and
Mm,
I live alone, and the whole 9 yards. But
yeah.
man, that consultation immigration fee is worth every bit.
Oh,
As soon as I get that money,
yeah.
I'm going to. What's the best way to get in contact with you? Do I go? Is the link on the TikTok diaspora?
Yeah. Email us is typically the easiest way to get into. Some people try to call and then they forget that we're in Kenya, right? Like even though it's an American company, all of our people are physically in Kenya, so they try to call and it's like we're closed, right? Because our
Oh
business hours
yeah,
are
yeah,
Kenyan business hours. So
yeah, yeah.
email is definitely the best.
Yeah, okay, cool. And I'll find that on the Diaspora Freedom link, right?
Yep.
All right, cool. So when do you think the price? I know you don't know. It's
2
dependent
weeks.
upon your.
Now I know what it's going to
Okay,
change. I just don't know what it's going to change to. But yeah, two
okay,
weeks is going to change. It's gonna change in like January 15th.
okay. Now, one more thing before I let you go.
Yeah.
So I just want to give you a quick synopsis of what it is.
Sure.
Okay, I was born here in the States. My father's Tanzanian, my mother's Kenyan.
Hmm.
The last time I was in Kenya I was able to go. My mother's Kikuyu.
Okay.
I was able to go to the village. I was able to get her birth certificate.
Nice.
And what's so cool about living here in the DMV is I didn't have to do anything in Kenya. So once I was able to get her birth certificate, I just came right back here and went to the embassy.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
How many embassies do we have in the States, by the way? Do you know?
The Kenyan embassies?
Yeah.
3. I think there's New York, LA, and DC.
Okay.
Because we used to get all the visas from New York.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I got her birth certificate. I came right back here to DC, went to the embassy,
Yeah.
gave them all the information. It took a while.
Yeah.
You know, Kenya is slow with
Yeah.
immigration. Okay. So it took about a year. The next thing you know, I'm in Kenya. My mother calls me while I'm in Kenya. She's like, son, your papers came through. Now, here's the problem. Okay? My mother is she has a sister, but they don't really get along. She's the last sole survivor of her family. Now, in order for me to prove that I'm Kenyan, they need documentation from a relative. How does that work?
Now, the lawyer just handles that. Yeah. Like that is the easiest way to do it, is to have what do they call it? It's not a proffer, but it is a proffer. Like in the U.S. legal system, it would be called a proffer, but they have a name for it here, and I just can't think of it off the top of my head. But typically, what ends up happening is you have a relative that says like, yes, this is my whatever, and they are Kenyan and the blah 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 blah. But you don't actually have to go through that. We can essentially do a proffer from the High Court of Kenya and have like a judge do it, which we do all the time. And then that's the end of that.
Do I need to be in the country, or can I
No,
remain here?
you can remain there. Yep.
Oh, that is amazing. And how soon can we start this process? As soon as I start the consultation fee and
Yeah.
everything?
Yeah.
Oh, man, you are amazing,
Yeah,
bro.
man.
You're fucking amazing.
Yeah. We could get that done
I
real
love your
quick.
work.
Yeah.
Now,
And
one more thing before I let you go. So you come on here at what time every day, Kenyan time?
yeah, it's Kenyan time. It's like 5:30, 5:30 a.m. It's whenever
Okay.
the sun comes up. So today the sun came up at 6:04. Because if I come up before the sun, it's a mess. So it's like 10 p.m. ish Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, cool. Man, you're amazing. I'm gonna just continue to listen to you. Just wanted to jump in right quick. Thank you.
Yeah,
so
man, no
much,
problem.
man.
Anytime. I'm here every day. Every day. The only day I wasn't here was New Year's Day.
Okay, well, it's understandable.
Yeah.
And your name is John?
John.
John. Thank you. How long have you been in Kenya now?
Oh man. Well, consistently it's been 7 years. So
7 years.
I'll finish dual citizenship in like a month. But
Man, that
it's
was
back and
crazy,
forth.
man.
It's been like 12.
Because what you said, man, really blew my mind, because I know what you're talking about. Because when you said like there's a whole different level when you're not going back, I
Yeah.
want to experience that.
Yeah, man.
I really do.
That caught me off guard, actually. I didn't know what was going on. I almost went to the hospital. I'm just keeping it real with you. I was like, what just happened? My heart was beating out of my chest. I was like, holy hell.
What did you do to celebrate? You went and had a drink?
We were actually at the restaurant. I was at the restaurant with my wife, and she knew immediately that like something was wrong. And I was like, I have no idea what's wrong at all. It took me a couple of days to figure out what that was.
Yeah.
You know, it was really kind of a paramount.
I can imagine, man. I can imagine, because I'm just looking at you, man. You look rested. You look you look the opposite of the way we look here.
Yeah.
We're stressed out here. Well, at least I am.
Yeah.
This place is,
Yeah, I hear you.
no.
It's a mess. It's a mess. I had to come back for a family issue. Like my dad was sick, and then he since passed. But I had to go back.
Sorry.
You know, I appreciate that. I had to go back for that, and I was just walking around like, Jesus, man, I used to live here like this, like, you know, and you can see it on everybody. I used to wonder how people, like, I would go somewhere and they'd be like, you're American. I used to wonder how they did that, you know. And now I can tell, like, oh, yep, you're American, you know, just by looking. Whereas the locals don't actually know. They're like, are they Nigerian? Are they, you know, they're not really sure. They just know we're not local. But now I can look at it and be like, yep, you're definitely American, you know. It's pretty interesting.
I don't know. It's so
weird. Everybody's fighting to come here, and I get it. I get why you want to come here. I get why you want to go there. I get the back and forth.
Right, right. Yeah,
But
the marketing's good.
yeah, yeah, But it's when you I was born here, so I know this from firsthand experience. But when you come here, like my parents did, man, and really understand the world you're in, it's just a stressful thing.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's definitely tough.
John, God bless you, man. Keep doing what you're doing, and I will be here every day.
I
Um,
got you, brother.
and just with schooling and everything that's going on, just give me. Well, I probably won't make the 2 week deadline, but it doesn't even matter. I'm still just gonna forward that damn money. We need to get this
I
show off the road.
I hear you, bro. I hear you. Yeah, let me know.
Okay, brother. Thank you, man.
All
God
right,
bless.
no problem. I'm looking forward
How
to
do I
the.
get out?
Oh, let me see. I think I can drop you. I think there's a little
Okay.
X button, but I think I can drop you. Yep, there you go.
I'm trying to give you a light.
I'm looking forward to the feeling of not coming back. I know it's gonna take some time to unwind. Yeah, for me it took about 6 months. However, I was an avid like expat and an avid traveler. So maybe where's the button at? The button to do what? To like? I think it's like I think it's here. But so maybe it was faster for me. You know what I mean? I don't know. Now that you say that, that's actually that's pretty interesting. It might have been faster for me because of that. Um, that's interesting. You're thinking it's going to take you about a year? Maybe. You know what? Maybe I should start asking people how long it took them. That is interesting. I'd never actually thought about that before. But you're right. It might. I lived in so many places. I was at least used to living in other places, right? Um, so yeah, that might be a difference in the curve. Do the immigration include it? Sorry. You're talking to me on the only stream that has another device blocking screen. Do the immigration included in the package deal restricts you from traveling back and forth to your country of origin, and can the house be utilized for Airbnb? Okay. Answer to number one, no, you have no restrictions. So that's number one. Answer to number two, only if you have a Class G permit, right? So you can't open a business in another country without authorization from that country to do business. Okay, so you need authorization from that country to do business, kind of like having working papers, except it's not working papers because you own a business, right? So in order to own a business, you need an investor permit, not a residency permit. So Class K permits are the residency permits. They lead directly to dual citizenship. Class G permits are the investor permits, and they lead to permanent residence, right? So once you get to permanent residence, you don't need to renew. That's essentially the difference. So yes, you can do an Airbnb. We just process you different because you need to show $100,000 to get an investor permit, which your package is more than 100,000. So that's not an issue. It's just a timing issue as to like where we put money when, and then let them process whatever they're going to process, and then after they present you with your permit, then we now move money somewhere else so it can start building the Airbnb and all of that. But that's very, very typical. We do that all the time for Airbnb people. We typically get them their permit first and then pull that same money out and whatever money on top of that is necessary to actually build the actual physical Airbnb. Yeah, that's interesting. After you move here, treasures, I'd love to know how long it does take. That'd be interesting. Be interesting to see if it does take a year. It'd be interesting to see if you don't notice. Like if it takes long enough, is it something that's subtle enough that you don't even notice it? Because like Philly's a different beast. You know what I mean? In the sense that like Pennsylvania is an open carry state. Philly, you need a concealed carry permit to open carry because it's what they call a city of the first class, so it can make its own rules. But typically, everywhere else in Pennsylvania, you don't need anything but a driver's license to go get that. And if you're not concealing it, you don't need a permit. You just walk around with it on your hip, and it's legal. So I I kind of feel like unless you're in, a certain subculture, right? Then there's more kind of, I don't know, there's more like pressure on the average person in a state like that versus like New York where nobody has, at least like from a legal perspective, right? So unless you're in an illegal subculture, you're not really carrying and you're not really worried about a normal individual carrying as well. But like in Pennsylvania, everybody got it on them, right? So that's an additional stress factor to what you're thinking about and what you're dealing with. So I know a big part of what I experienced was like being vulnerable. You know what I mean? Like being vulnerable to like anything jumping off at any time, whether it's a mass, situation or a school situation or all of those situations that we deal with on the regular and we think they're just normal. It was like the realization that I was vulnerable to that type of situation, but then at the same time that nobody does that here. So like it didn't matter. But that's where, that almost panic attack type situation popped in at. Great to know. We'll do a consultation soon. Thanks. No problem, man. We're always here. So yeah, pretty interesting situation. I haven't relocated a psychologist or psychiatrist in a long time. So the next one I do, I'm definitely going to ask them about that. It's been years. Like maybe 6 or 7 years. It's been a while. It's been a while since. Oh, that's a good question. Business owners, the number one profession is typically business owner. The anxiety is super real, and it's just normal to us. Like it's so crazy how normal it was. How that I only realized that after the fact. There's a but it might be on my personal TikTok. There's a video on my TikTok where somebody was like, why don't you ever want to go back to America or whatever. And like on my daily commute, I used to like take photos or videos even of like these people like bent over backwards on like meth and like crazy stuff like nodding out like in the coffee shop. Like I'm trying to get a cup of coffee and there's someone bent backwards like a horror movie 2 inches from the ground, like holding their body up 2 inches from the ground, and they're like in the middle of the coffee shop and no one's doing anything. Like at that point in time in Philly, like the police did nothing. They would like you call them, they show up and stand there and watch whatever was happening, and then like you want to do a police report, like they wouldn't touch anybody. And they were doing it to be facetious because there were these black guys that had a problem in a Starbucks where the police showed up and like roughed them out of the Starbucks. I think tased them and all of that. And then they won like a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. They didn't even take the money. They gave the city the money to retrain the cops. But then after that, all the cops were like, "Oh, we don't want to be sued. We're not touching anybody. You want to do a police report?" Like they were being children, right? So there was this. I don't know if it's still like that, but that's what they were doing when I was there. And so they would just show up. You call the cops, they show up and they watch somebody rob your store, and they'd be like, "You want to do a police report?" They wouldn't do anything about it. And so you'd be at like a coffee shop, and there'd literally be somebody nodding off on whatever they were on, looking like a crazy horror movie. And so somebody was like, "Why don't you go back?" And like I showed them, like I went through my phone. I was like, I got videos of this," and like I showed them these videos of like normal coffee shop. Like all you want is a cup of damn coffee, right? And there are people like punching the air, bent over backwards, nodding off, and it was nuts. And I was like, yeah, this is definitely part of why. But those people, they'll attack you. Like, they'll see a demon or something while they're high, and they'll pull out an IV needle, or they'll pull out a knife or something, and they'll attack you. So you got to be like on your p's and q's with them. And then it'll be like mental health. Like, they won't even go to jail. They'll go to some hospital somewhere, and then they ain't got no money. So, like a month or two later, they'll get released back onto the street. Like, oh yeah, we stabilized him. We gave him his medication. He's not a psychopath anymore. Send him back out on the street, and then they'll start using drugs again. They'll attack somebody else. It's wild. It's very, very wild out there. So yeah, I didn't even have kids until I left. Like, I was not prepared to bring a child into that. So yes, it is even more worse here now. It's blocks of people sleep on the ground, really, on fentanyl. Ugh. Yeah, we had, if you guys Google Kensington Beach, they were calling it. There's a road in Philly called Kensington, and there's another road called Allegheny. And so at Kensington and Allegheny, they call it K&A. You can't even drive through there. There are tents of homeless people in the street. It's like Skid Row. I'm sure it's worse, actually. Like, excuse me. I'm sure they took Skid Row's, title from them. It is nuts. And like I said, since the police started acting, the fool, they don't really do anything, there. And so that's it. It's just a bunch of people on fentanyl, like she said, on heroin, on meth, and all of that, just spread out all over the block. It's a couple blocks. It's a couple blocks. K&A is crazy. But I think if you like Google it, or if you look on like YouTube or whatever, it's like Kensington Beach. I don't know why they call it the beach. I have no idea. Some kind of inside joke, or I don't know. But yeah, it's wild. Very, very wild. Sucks that it's like worse. But yeah, I was like, look, I'm not even doing the kid thing. Like, we're not even not worried about that at all. you know. But out here, it's more like how I grew up. You know what I mean? Like, my boy is 21 months old. Um, and unless something drastic changes, like the kids now. So he's 21 months old. We did New Year's. That was the latest that he gets to stay up, right? So we did New Year's. The other kids were there too. It wasn't like we were some weird family like with kids waiting for the fireworks on the beach, right? So all the kids are on the beach and all of that, right? And so, we have our circle, our socioeconomic circle or whatever. So all the kids are there, the kids that he's probably going to know forever, right? And so the fireworks go off, New Year's goes off and all of that. He's there, Nanny's there. The governess, we need a new governess. Our governess is gone, but whatever. He's there, Nanny's there, and all of that. We're like, all right, where's everybody at? But the nanny's gone, so we're good, right? Like, the nanny is not there, so nanny's with him. Where's everybody at? The kids, these are kids. He's 21 months old, right? He barely talk. He's starting to talk now. And the kids went to another party, a kids party. There's a place called Splash Kids. So it's like a kids park, right? But the kids went to another party. And so it was like a block away, but they went to like an all kids party. So the nanny's with them. So, it is what it is. But it was just hilarious to me that like the kids already got their own little ecosystem going, and they got their own events that they go to, and all the nannies are there and all of that stuff. But very similar to kind of like how we came up, where, we could be out till the street lights came on. We better be at home by the time the street lights came on. But our parents didn't know where we were at. There wasn't no cell phones, They didn't know, where we were playing at, but we better get home by the time them street lights came on, and that was that. But we were able to like explore the world and play and have confidence. We didn't have to sit in a basement and play PlayStation all day and all of that stuff. So that's definitely what I wanted for him, and it wasn't finna happen, in Philadelphia. That's for sure. When I tell you it's so hard to wait here, we are as we prepare to relocate with the streets being the way they are, yeah. And to top it off with the government, yeah, I know that's right. Yeah, I'm just waiting to exhale. I hear you. I hear you. 100%. I hear you. Yeah, it's I couldn't imagine having to live in the United States again. Couldn't imagine it. I'm sure I'll have to go back for something at some point in like business or inheritance. Or like I'm sure there's going to be some kind of legal reason why I'm going to have to go back. But I went back. What was it, last year, to see my dad before he died, and I was there for maybe 3 weeks, and it was nuts. I was like, what? And I didn't go. My dad doesn't live in Philly, right? So I flew back into Philly because that's the closest airport to him, but he doesn't live in Philly. So I ended up, driving out, to Reading, where he lived while he was alive and all of that. And still, it was like, what is going on? It was. Actually, I landed and I forgot something. Maybe it was like toothpaste or something. Like I forgot something, and so I jumped in the car and went to what used to be the 24-hour Walmart, and it was closed. The mall wasn't just closed; they had broken it down. They demolished the mall. I was like, "What is going on?" It felt like I left Kenya and went to a third world country. I was like, "What is going on out here?" Everything was boarded up. It. I did not expect that at all, at all. So it was really interesting to compare and contrast the freaking decline of the United States versus what we got going on out here, in Africa. Really, really wild. Tried to take a couple walks down memory lane, and it was like memory lane done been demoed. You know what I mean? It's not there anymore. So really, really, really interesting. It's so heavy here and work driven, and we're just existing, not thriving. Yeah, but where are they working? Like when I went, to see my dad, it was like all of the places that I was going to is kind of like staple places. Like, oh, let me go back to the neighborhood sandwich shop and get the grinder or like whatever sandwich I haven't had in 20 years, closed. You know, all the little stores closed. Um, you know, the tuxedo rental shop where you got the tuxedo for prom closed. You know what I mean? The mall where you hung out as kids closed. I was like, wait a minute, where are they working? Like, where do these people work? Everything's closed. So it was really, really, really interesting. Yeah, not at all. Not at all. I think there was an Amazon warehouse, which was new. That didn't exist when I was younger. So there was like an Amazon warehouse that's somewhere nearby. So I guess a lot of people are working there. Um, there's a battery company called Deca Battery. That's actually a really, really big battery company. Um, so a lot of people work there. There's a steel mill. So it's a lot of like the old stuff where like there's huge swaths of people that work in these kind of like old industries. Um, but I was really, really surprised. A lot of the mom and pop stuff was gone. And it even seemed like Walmart was struggling, which was pretty crazy as well. So, you know, and then it was funny. I went to Walmart and I forget what I tried to use because I've been away for so long. So like, my money's like digital at this point. And so like I went to Walmart and couldn't like tap to pay. And I remember they were like, "Oh, we have Walmart Pay." And I was like, "What?" And so they were like, "Yeah, you got to download the app." So I even did that. Like I downloaded the app and like I think I put a card in it or something and it still wouldn't work. And so then I went to Target and then I was like online, like, what is going on? Walmart, like, you can't tap to pay. Like, it's easier for me to digitally pay for things in Africa. Like, how is it? How is there no universal electronic payment system out here? You know. So then I went to Target and got whatever I needed, you know, in that moment from Target, and then found out they were like, no, we boycotting Target. I was like, I ain't know. Ain't nobody told me y'all was boycotting Target. But went to Target and at least like the tap to pay thing worked. And I was like, y'all, this is crazy. I was like, y'all, we have a universal digital payment system in, you know, East Africa, you know, called M-Pesa, which just translates into mobile money. And so it's universal. Anybody anywhere can use it. Period. Like as long as you got a phone, you can use it. And I was like, damn, like I'm hearing some people like, well, we don't do iPay, but we do Google Pay, but we don't do Google Pay, but we do Samsung Pay. Da, 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 da. And it's like, wait a minute, y'all ain't got a universal electronic payment system? So it definitely felt like I was visiting a third world country. It was really crazy to go back to the U.S. after all that time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Inspiration. It's pretty. Yeah, pretty wild. All is well. Is there anything that you need?
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah.
There's that. I'm sure that's part of it, Juicy. I'm sure that's part of it. It's sad. Even in China, like so China's a little funky because it's hard to transfer business money into China. A lot easier to like send it from like a personal account, but it is more difficult to do business money. So like you got to do sole proprietorships and all of that stuff and whatever, right? But once the money's in China, even China was way easier. You know, you got Alipay, you got WeChat Pay, and you got like debit cards or whatever. But you have universal electronic. You have two of them, universal electronic payment systems, and you're good to go. And even coming from the outside, like even just spending your money from the outside, you can do that within those universal payment systems. It's just like bank wires are funny, but way easier than the United States. So it was pretty interesting to see that. Yeah, yeah. No, I had no clue. There was definitely like a. Oh, it's still going. It's still the Target boycott is still going. All right. Well, there's no Targets here, so. but but that was I forgot what I needed, but I needed something. It was like a hygiene situation. Like I needed something that I forgot to bring, like toothpaste or deodorant or something, and I just couldn't. Like I could not pay them. I couldn't pay them at Walmart. Like they made it hard to take my money. Who like what business does that? So I ended up just going to Target. Yeah, it was also interesting like eating because like my favorite stuff obviously, you know, I would go and try to, you know, whatever, find that favorite thing that I haven't had in 20 years or whatever. And it was real it was real interesting like tasting it because I guess I haven't had certain chemicals in my food for so long now that now I can taste the chemicals. So like I would have like a coffee and be like, what is going on? Is it the coffee? Is it the water? Like, is it the creamer I just put in the coffee? Like, what is this? And you know, the only thing that didn't have a taste to it was eggs. Like I had eggs, like a regular breakfast, like eggs, bacon, toast, like right, like a regular standard, you know, Little tiny breakfast. I think there might have been something else that I'm forgetting. Oh, pancakes, eggs, bacon, toast. Right, regular breakfast. The pancakes were wild. They tasted metallic. The toast I didn't eat, so I don't know about the toast. The eggs were the only thing that tasted normal. The bacon was wild. Like it tasted saltier than anything I had ever eaten in my life. Like, and I have bacon here, but it doesn't taste that salty. Um, the coffee tasted, metallic as well. It was like, what is going on? And I actually thought like, oh, it was just that restaurant. And so like I went to see my dad. Right? I stopped for breakfast on the way to see my dad. Went to see my dad, spent the day there. Came out, was like, all right, I'm gonna go get dinner or whatever. Went to a completely different place. Everything tasted wild. I was like, what is going on? And so there were certain things. Trying to remember what else. There were certain things that were like fine, like um, hmm, what else was it that seemed to taste okay? There were certain things that like became my go-to. Oh, like the Mexican street vendors. All that stuff tasted normal. So I don't know, what was going on there. I went to an Italian place that I used to like a lot, and the pasta tasted like cardboard to me, and everybody else was like, "Oh, it's so good." I'm like, "What is going on?" The sauce, the spaghetti sauce, or what there's a lot of Italians in that area, so they call it gravy. It tasted like pure sugar, and everybody was like, "No, no, it tastes fine. There's basil in it and garlic." I couldn't taste no basil, no garlic, just sugar. It was, and so it was really, really wild realizing that, like, oh man, this is stuff that I ate all the time, every day. So it's interesting when they say that we have the highest, rate of renal failure in the United States. We have the highest rate of diabetes, and we get our limbs cut off, amputated, and all that. It made a heck of a lot more sense once I went back and I was like tasting the food, and I was like, Jesus, what is going on? How about I didn't have any baked beans. So, yeah, that one I don't know. Is it pretty easy to get a bank account and transfer our money from the U.S. to a secure bank in Kenya? Um, if you're doing it legally, there used to be this trend of like people on the internet telling people to illegally immigrate. They wouldn't just come out and say it, but they'd be like, "Oh, you can just come here on a visa," which a visa in any country only allows you entrance to the country. That's all a visa does. It allows you to enter the country, and it's not guaranteed, right? An immigration agent at the border can still say, "Screw your visa, you're not coming in," right? It's rare, but they can do it. So that's all a visa is. A visa does not allow you to immigrate. A visa does not allow you to work. Even if you have a business visa, that allows you to attend a business conference, not do business, right? So that's how visas work. So there were all these, people telling folks to come here on tourist visas and then illegally immigrate, right? So like they leave the country every 90 days and then have to come back in the country, and try to get another 90 days or whatever, which is a hassle in and of itself because there are no countries that touch this country that don't require another visa, right? It's not like, like if you're an American and you do that in China, Hong Kong doesn't require a visa. So you can walk across the border to Hong Kong, pay nothing, walk back across the border to China, pay nothing, and then have a Chinese visa to re-enter the country. It doesn't work that way here. If you're an American, you need a visa to go to Tanzania. You need a visa to go to Uganda. You need a visa to go to any of the countries that touch Kenya. So it becomes a ridiculous prospect. But those people were just taking money from people, right? So it was just like, oh yeah, pay us, we'll get you the visa, which is stupid in and of itself. And then you'll start this illegal nonsense that you're doing. So there'd be people who were doing that for years, like they'd be 5 years here illegally. They can't get a bank account because they don't have the documentation required to get a bank account, right? And then those would be the people on YouTube talking about how hard and how corrupt and how this and how that. Ask them to show you their permit, right? They don't have one. That's why it's so hard, and that's why you're bribing people, because you're actually trying to find people who are corrupt enough to give you certain documentation that you don't qualify for, right? But they never say that. They just talk about, oh, this is corrupt here, there's this, that, it's the other. When you come here properly, none of our clients that start with us, we do have some clients that come with us after effing up, but none of the clients who start with us have ever been asked for a bribe, ever. Like we did a interview with one of our clients that waived privilege, right? Because like I said, since we use a law firm, we can't just be putting clients out there because there's attorney-client privilege in place. So one of our clients waived privilege and has a whole interview on YouTube and all of that stuff. And same thing with him. He's never been asked to pay a bribe ever, because all his paperwork is in line, right? And so it's one of those things where the people who don't come here correctly, or have no team and have no support, trying to do everything on their own, those are the same people who be online talking about how corrupt everything is, but will not tell you that they're the ones who screwed everything up, that they're the ones looking for the first bribe payment. And once you do that, your file is incomplete, right? So if you look at someone's like immigration file and you see that they don't have a document they should have had, well, how did they skip that document? They must have paid somebody off. And that's when people are like, oh, okay, well, I want to get paid too. Well, I want to get paid too. But if you don't start that nonsense, it never comes up. So you just got to do it the right way, and then you'll be fine. But yeah, if you come through correctly, you can open a bank account anywhere at any bank, and then you can wire whatever you want to wire. Now, if you have a Class G permit, depending on how much money it is, you might need to prove, which is the same thing in America, by the way, right? So if you're operating business in America and you've ever transferred $100,000, they want the contract. Like, where's your business contract? Like, how do you know these people? Where are they coming from? It's called KYC, right? So it's like an international standard. So that's the same, right? If you are a Class K permit, which means it's an ordinary residency permit and you're going towards dual citizenship, then you're expected to be wiring in money because you don't have a work permit. You cannot legally work in Kenya. So you're expected to be wiring in money from elsewhere. So then the wiring process even gets even easier because it's essentially a requirement of your permit. So it just depends on how you entered, under what legal status you entered, and what you're expected to do via that legal status. hmm What? No, I mean I ate. You know what I mean? I ate. It just tasted absurd. Oh, salad. Of all things, salad. That was another thing. Like, the salad had no flavor at all. It was the salad dressing that had flavor, and most of them tasted like sugar. I had to like use vinaigrettes and stuff. So it's really, yeah. That was really surprising. But yeah, I mean, I had to eat. But yeah, I ended up doing a lot of like ethnic street food. So there's a huge Hispanic population in Reading, Pennsylvania. So I did a lot of like mofongo and that type of stuff, and Mexican, and there aren't real Chinese food places, but I speak Chinese. So if you request like a real dish, typically they'll make it because that's what they eat. They don't eat what they sell us. So there was a bunch. I ate a lot of Chinese, um, and that was it. I even stopped at what was it? I stopped at like one of the fast food places that I used to like, and I just hadn't been to in a long time. Um, which one? I think it was Chick-fil-A, and I didn't get like food. I just wanted like the waffle fries. Man, I bit into the first fry, and it was like it tasted like a piece of salt. I was like, wow, I don't remember this, And so it was, yeah, it was nuts. It was really, really bad. So it would be tough to eat, And it's not like I was there for like the 3 weeks. It's not like by week three things tasted normal again. Like they stayed tasting crazy. And I went to a bunch of different places just to like, is that place bad? Like what's going on? And so it was really, really interesting. There was a couple like fine dining restaurants I used to go to and all that stuff. And I went there and things were like okay. So that's interesting too. Like things seem to just taste bad in the hood. So that was pretty interesting as well. But I didn't notice when I lived there. Yeah, it can be. It can be. I tell you what, the it's almost just like being in the United States, right? If you're in the United States, let's say you file a bankruptcy in the United States, you don't know how that process works. You just know what your lawyer told you to give them. You gave them all the documents your lawyer told you. You gave them the credit reports and all of that stuff, and they did the rest. You don't know how they found the debt that you forgot about and included it in the bankruptcy, and you don't know how they did any of that, right? You paid the lawyer for the bankruptcy. The lawyer was like, "Give me this information. Give me a social security card. Give me any bills that come to you in the mail." And they did the rest, right? It's the same thing. If you have a professional team, you're like, I want to live there and I don't want to have to worry about nothing. And we do everything. Our lawyers do everything the same way that lawyer would have handled your bankruptcy. You get what you get at the end, and you have no idea how the lawyer did it. Same thing. Same thing. You don't actually have to like learn it all. You can just have a team do it and then, live with no worries. And that's one of the things about Kenya is the curb is not steep at all. So it's really, really easy for you to learn everything that you need to learn. You can get by without learning any other languages because English is the official language here alongside Swahili, right? Like if you went to Tanzania, you would have a problem. If you try to live in Arusha and don't speak Swahili, you would have a problem. But here, you're good. Um, the technology level is the same, the medical level is the same, like education levels is the same. You know what I mean? All those things are not learning curves like they would be in some other places. So that's definitely one of the pros to Kenya overall. What about the governor? Who's governor? Which governor? That's a random question. Oh my governess. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We need a new one. Yeah, we need a new one. This is the downside of being like a really, really good payer, right? This happens to us all the time. We just have to accept it. But this is the first time. Like this is my first child, so this is the first time it affected the kid. Typically, we pay people enough that they can change their life in a couple years, and they do, and we assist them with it, right? So like we went to Kenya. The governess came with us to Kenya, to China, and all that. We had to renegotiate our business deals, and she asked, she was like, "Hey, I want to start a business. Can you help me? Whatever." And we did. So we introduced her to different suppliers and stuff over there, and like she has her business up and running and that. So she's moving on and all that, which is great. Except she was amazing. She was amazing, and so it's really, really difficult to replace her. And so our son is definitely missing her. And yeah, even me, like, listen. So yeah, so the governess is gone. Yeah, I did mention that in one of the last lives. So looks like you're paying attention. But yeah, yeah, the governess is gone, so we need a new governess. The governess essentially focuses on the baby. She in charge of everything though, so you know what I mean. But she essentially focuses on the baby. Driving, I feel like it is. And you know what's funny though? Um, you can go to driving school, but you don't have to. You can just convert your driver's license. So that means that the driving authority also feels like it is. So even though you're driving on the other side of the street, I feel like because the steering wheel is on the other side of the car, it all kind of clicks. The only thing that's off that you really kind of got to learn is like circle etiquette. So like when you get into like a circle, the lane you enter the circle in is supposed to correspond to like the exit of the circle. So like if you're entering a circle and you're taking that first, left to get out of the circle as soon as you enter it, you should be in the furthest lane. You shouldn't like enter the circle and be in the middle and then be indicating and like crossing traffic to get, you know what I mean? So it kind of makes sense. And then the next lane in on the circle should be like you're going straight, like you're going around the circle and then going out the other side. And then if you're going, to the far side of the circle, then you should be on the closest to to the island in the center and all that. So that's a little different. Other than that, though, it's pretty similar. So I was driving in China, which definitely prepared me though for driving in Kenya because Chinese they drive on the same side of the road as Americans, but they're crazy. They drive super crazy. I remember when I was there, and I think this video is still on YouTube. Um, a Chinese driver ran over a little girl and left her there, and then like in the same video, a bunch of people just walked by the girl and left her there in the street. There's a baby. And then another person ran her over. Because it was like one of those situations where if they're on the ground, you can't really see them. So the second person, it was understandable, except he left her there too. I shouldn't say he. I don't know who was driving the car. They left her there too. And so it became a national dialogue because the reason why Chinese people were doing that was based on a court decision. There was a person that had gotten hit by a car, and the people who hit her drove off. And then the next person who showed up jumped out the car and was like, oh my goodness, is she okay? Blah, 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 blah. Threw her in his car, took her to the hospital. And then the family was like, oh, if you took her to the hospital, it must be because you felt guilty. So you're the one who hit her in the first place. And the courts agreed. And so since then, it was like Chinese people stopped helping each other. And it was real crazy. It created this like national conversation as to this like 7-year-old girl who got hit and run over, and like they took off, and then the next person ran her over again, and they took off, and like people were walking by on the sidewalks, and like nobody until like the police came, nobody would touch her because they were like, the court said if you help, it must be because you're guilty. So I'm not, doing anything. So it was a really interesting situation because they had, I don't know, I doubt it's still the same way there because last time I went to China, everything was different. But the young people were having this discussion about like foreigners are jumping into rivers to save drowning Chinese people while Chinese people watch. You know what I mean? Like what's going on? And it all stemmed from this court decision where the Good Samaritan was penalized for being a Good Samaritan, and it stopped everybody from helping. So it's pretty interesting. It's the Uber for me. Ain't nothing wrong with that. That works in Nairobi though. And maybe your driving anxiety is because of like Nairobi, right? Like that works in Nairobi, it works in all the major cities, of course. But I live at the beach. So like while yes, I can get an Uber, it takes longer. You know what I mean? And there might be like the same 3 Uber drivers. So if you ain't feeling one of them, now it's taking even longer. Right? So, but in Nairobi, that's like New York City, So you can be there, take an Uber 3 times a day, every day, and not see the same Uber driver. But here, we just, we have a car. That's You can also hire a driver. Even we have some people in Nairobi that do that as well. Like they have a car, but they just have a chauffeur essentially, which is actually really really cost effective if you have a car. If you're hiring somebody who's bringing their car, it's a little more costly. Yeah, it's interesting. It's just about knowing. Like their cues are a little bit differently, but are a little bit different. Sorry, but as you drive there, you start picking up on their cues. How many African countries? 34. Yeah, I haven't been to them all, but we did a lot of due diligence in a lot of countries. So 34. I guess 35, including Kenya. Absolutely not. I mean, of the ones that well, okay. Sierra Leone was decent. Um, Nigeria was absolutely not. Um, for me, that was the worst experience. Definitely. Now I'm told that had I been to Abuja, it would have been different. So that's just what I'm told. But whatever. But Lekki, absolutely not. That was horrible. Uh, I could live in the Seychelles. I don't like Mauritius as much, but I could probably live there as well. I could live in Sierra Leone. That's probably it. Again, there's some countries I haven't been to, so you know, but definitely like South Africa is not for me. Not that it's bad per se, but it's just not my vibe. Um, and all the places. Now, I did like Lesotho. Oddly enough, even though I do live at the beach and I like the beach, I'm not opposed to like snow. And there was like snow in Lesotho, and like that was actually kind of cool. So I did like Lesotho a lot, and I liked that they have snow and all of that. So that's probably the only place in like Sadak that I would consider living is Lesotho. But yeah, but that's just me though. You know what I mean? You might love Darbon or Cape Town or you know. Yeah, there's definitely that inspiration. Definitely that. What didn't I like about South Africa? Um, I'm not a partier, right? My like those days are done. So a lot of the places are like really, really awesome. If you're like a nightlife person, you want to go partying, you want to go drinking in Durban or Cape Town, whatever. There's that, but that's not my thing. So then it was like, you know what it was like? It was like Atlanta. It was like Atlanta, right? Where if those things are not your things, yes, there's the aquarium, yes, there's the museums, yes, there's all of that, but you actually have to create like a social circle and then like go engage with the social circle or else it's actually boring, right? So if you're not, in society in Atlanta and you're not clicked up and you're not going to like the polo matches and you're not getting the right invitations and all of that. If you're not going to the club, Atlanta's actually pretty boring, right? It's not like New Orleans. You can go to New Orleans and like not know nobody and not be part of New Orleans society and all of that, and not be partying and still be thoroughly entertained, right? Same thing with like Philly and New York and like those cities are known for that, right? In all of the places. that I, and obviously, nobody's been to, you don't go to every single city in a country on vacation, but in all the places that I have been to in South Africa, it, unless you're a partier, it actually was quite boring. Now, that's not to say that nothing is going on, but then you need to be in those circles, you know what I mean, to get the invite to those things that were going on. You don't need that in Kenya. Like, you don't need to be in any kind of social circle, to get the invite to whatever is going on, or to be able to go do things outside of clubbing and partying. So, very similar to Cancun, very similar to Jamaica. You know what I mean? One of those things where it's like, it's cool when you're going for that, but once you stop going for that, that now what's happening? What's going on now? So very similar situation. Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Are we no longer doing? No, we're still doing relocation. It's just that this year, our company goal is to increase the amount of people who have functional generational wealth dynasties built. So yeah, so we're going to do 100 of them this year. We've already done two. We got a third one in the pipeline. So we're well on our way. Right in the beginning of 2026 here. But yeah, generational wealth is the name of the game for this year. But yeah, we still do relocations and all of that. It's just so important. That's why we really focus on. And I don't know if it's now that I have a child and all of that, and I see how important it is. But it's just super important. And right now, it's super easy. So why not do, you know, 100 new families that are going to have 100 years of legacy, while it's easy to do, now, versus maybe in 2 years it's going to be really, really hard. Maybe in 2 years you're going to have to make really, really solid financial decisions. Whereas now, with the bond market in Kenya being what it is currently, it's actually ridiculously easy to build a dynasty family and a dynasty legacy on the financial side. Which typically the finances are easy anyway. It would just take longer. Um, but our real focus is the knowledge you need to build the proper family out. So understanding what real stewardship actually is, being able to pass on um, financial literacy, global financial literacy, to the next generations, having passport portfolio strategies in place to extend the reach of family influence, having conflict resolution strategies in place to deal with conflicts that come up amongst different family members and stuff like that. All of those things, those are the hard parts. That's the real discipline that is super difficult to lock in, right? So that's the part that's the real focus. Just setting up, the trust fund and getting the money compounding inside of the trust fund. That's stupid easy, right? And then the longer it sits there, the more money you have. Like, that's ridiculously simple. It's having the stewardship to be able to keep that family going and not let that family die in one generation. That's the hard part. So 100 families, 100-year dynasties. We're going to rock out with that for this year. Why would I build the what? Oh, okay. I think that's just a typo of legacy. Why would you build a legacy trust? Is that what you're saying? Um, in Kenya instead of the Cook Island, instead of the Cook Islands. Well, no, I mean, hey, if you got Cook Islands money, rock out with the Cook Islands. Cook Islands is more for asset protection trust, though, right? So there are like, I guess there's like buzzwords and stuff all over the internet, or maybe you read a book and stuff like that. Cook Islands is awesome if you're trying to protect assets, right? But they know that. They literally design their laws to be in opposition of most other countries' laws, right? On purpose, right? So they know how great their system is for people who want to protect, assets from creditors and stuff like that. It's not the same thing as building generational wealth, right? But because they know that the pricing associated with doing things there reflects that, they're also one of the only countries that will allow you to improperly use a trust, right? So typically your trusts have to be in place at least 2 years before anything happens. It's called seasoning the trust. And if a trust is unseasoned, a judge can act like it doesn't exist, essentially. They can set aside your trust. And they can say, all right, well, this trust was, created in response to a divorce or in response to an engagement, even, or whatever situation, in response to you getting this debt. So you use the trust to defraud the creditors or whatever, right? So trust has to be in existence long before any problems pop up. They're one of the few countries in the world that will allow you to open up a trust after there's a problem and still say no to the foreign judge and whatever. A good way to land yourself in jail, by the way. But on their side, they'll allow it. And so, you know, they understand that what they offer is extreme for people with extreme amounts of money who are in extreme trouble. And so it costs extreme amounts of dollars, right? And so yeah, I mean, if you got $100 million that you need asset protection, go set up a Cook Islands trust. You're not wrong with that, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about setting up a generational wealth trust, right? You don't need a generational wealth trust if you have generational wealth. So by definition, we're talking to people who don't have generational wealth, but are smart enough to build it for the next generation. So we have generational wealth trusts that only got $3,000 in it. We got generational trusts that got a couple $100 in it. Now those trusts, they're going to have to compound for 70 years before there's anything decent in that trust, right? But then we have other people who took a sacrifice and they put $10,000 in there. But guess what? $10,000, their kids are going to be able to benefit from that trust. 20 years, $10,000 could be $1 million in compounding, right? So the number you start with, the bigger the number that you start with, the least amount of time it takes to create something of substance. And that's why I said the money's easy. Money is not hard, right? As long as you're thinking properly about generational wealth, the money is for the next generation. It's not for you. So that's not hard at all. The hard part is the next generation not destroying the wealth. That's the hard part. And that can only happen through education. All right. So if you're not passing on the proper education, if that's not built into the framework of the trust, then you're doing it for nothing. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, if the way I explain it is easy for you to understand, then I'm doing the right thing, I guess. You guys keep reminding me of the governance. Yeah, no, but we are hiring a house help. I don't do that though, so you gotta get past the matriarch. You can send the CV, yeah, that's fine. Find my personal page. Just go to like one of the posts, like when the social media manager does a post, they tag me so that I can like essentially quality check the post or whatever. Just find my tag on the bottom of one of the posts, and if you're gonna send that, send it to my personal. What's going on, Geek? Yes, yeah, yeah. No, the end of year special does include a house. There's only one left though. Yeah, yeah. You get land, you get house, you get your permit, you get your government compliances done, and then you get the passive income from the bond waterfall, and then you get a trust that manages it all. There's one left. You can have it, but we don't count our chickens before they hatch. So you want it, then definitely get in touch with us, and then if your wire hits, then you'll get it. But until the wire hits, it doesn't belong to anybody. Yeah, I mean, for me, the food is great. I don't have any issues with local food, but I guess everybody has their own taste, right? So I don't know. But for me, yeah, it's great. And there's international food here because I'm at the beach, so it's like a tourist area. So I can go get like a burger and fries, you know, and then like yesterday, there's this German. I don't know if it's German, but it's like a sausage place, but it's all worst. It's all like I guess it is German wurst. Like so, it's all like proper German sausages or whatever. Pretty good. Um, and then but we're we're going we're doing a caviar thing tonight, so we're it's a week, so is everything, so like, that's in the last 3 days I've had German, French, well, I'll have French tonight, um Italian, and Swahili. So it's not like you're locked into just one type of food. There you are, Jay. The 1.5 liters. My water accountability buddy or whatever. What time is it where you are? We've been here for what, 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 50 seconds. All right. Any other questions? Guess I'll start winding down for the wrap up. Any other questions about anything that I do? Our goals here in 2026 are we are going to establish 100 generational wealth trusts for 100 families. We've already done two. So we need to do 98 more. So we're off to a good start. So that is our New Year's realization. All right, looks like nobody has any questions for us. All right, sounds good to me. Okay, Freedom Family, I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. All right. No, that's not a question. Okay. Yep, I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Thanks for hanging out with me.